Detroit Tiger Baseball.
During that frightening summer of '67, Willie Horton and his teammates also found themselves in a pennant race.
Tigers had not been a contender for many, many years, and that 1967 we had a great pennant race in the American League, and it actually came down to the last day of the season.
Little soft pop-up. Petrocelli will take it. He does. The ball game is over.
A Red Sox win and Tiger doubleheader split on that final day of '67 left Detroit one game short. And while Boston celebrated, fans in the Motor City were left to continue the cleanup from the riots while contemplating another empty winter without a title.
You begin the 1968 season in spring training with the thoughts of that abject failure at the end of '67 hanging over the head of the team.
Bill, can the Tigers do it this year?
Well, Ernie, I'll tell you what. We gained something last year by virtue of the fact that we had a lot of young guys who went through an experience we'd never been through before, and we're going to win in '68.
From Jim Northrup to Mickey Stanley to Al Kaline, they said that just wasn't going to happen again. They knew they had a great baseball team.
That confidence got the Tigers started with 9 wins in their first 10 games and a steady hold on first place in the American League by early June. And as the Tigers started hot, no one was hotter than their ace right-hander Denny McLain, who took to the mound loaded with talent and tenacity.
God gave me a pretty good arm, and he gave me a great ability to throw the ball where I wanted to throw it. And I was told early in my career, as hard as you throw, if you don't walk anybody, you got a chance of winning a lot of ball games.
And in '68, McLain would win more of them than anyone.
He was very cocky, very confident.
And the day that I go out to pitch is the day that I think I'm the best in baseball ever was or ever will be. And I think if you're going to be a success in this game, that's the way you've got to feel.
Denny McLain struck him out.
In '68, the multi-talented McLain, who often spent nights playing keyboards in Detroit bars, got off to a start befitting of his self-confidence. And by the All-Star break, he was leading the AL in wins as the ace of the first-place Tigers.
McLain comes to the All-Star break with 16 victories.
Close off the field and on, the Tigers got contributions all season long from players up and down their roster.
See, an important thing winning is your bench. Gates Brown, Tom Manchak, Jim Price. We had great respect in each other. As one guy go down, that bench was ready.
And what better bench insurance than the extra hitting power of Matthews and Comer?
It seemed like every time they had a chance to play, they produced and helped us win ball games.
Thanks to their deep bench, no game was ever out of reach for the Tigers.
We know we played to the last strike.
3-2 pitch. He swings. There's a long one, and that one is out of here. A home run. The Tigers lead it 2-0.
You almost got the feeling, if you were a run ahead in the 7th inning, that you were behind.
The Tigers got 40 victories in the 7th inning or later, 27 in their last at-bat.
We never thought that we was out of the game till they threw their last strike.
And as the Tigers remained comfortably atop the American League standings as Labor Day approached, their success and frequent late-game heroics not only epitomized their city's resilience, but offered hope to fans who could find little of it elsewhere.
McLain covering, and he's got it. 28 wins for Denny McLain.
You think you'll ever see a 30-game winner again? You don't even see 25-game winners.
September 14th, a bright, sunny Saturday afternoon. Denny McLain attempting to become the first 30-game winner in more than 30 years. It turned out to be the game of the century, as the nation forgot its worries long enough to watch Denny challenge the record of the great Dizzy Dean.
You don't expect him to keep doing it like this all year. I thought I was in a little bit of trouble, but pulled me out again.
The pitch swung on, a ground ball. Peter, he goes to the plate. That's well! The Tigers scores! Stanley heads for third base. The Tigers have tied this ball game. Outfield is shallow. The pitch. Fastball, base hit! Tigers are going to win this one! Stanley scores the winning run, and McLain wins his 30th ball game of the year as Willie Horton comes up with a big base hit. In the bottom of the ninth, the Tigers scored 2, and look at this celebration on the field.
It's the greatest bunch of ball players I've ever played with, and I've been saying that for 5 years.
3 men on, 2 men out. Game tied 1-1 in the ninth inning. And the windup and the pitch. He swings a line shot, base hit, right field. The Tigers win it. Here comes Kaline to score, and it's all over. Downward singles. The Tigers mob Don. Kaline has scored. The fans are streaming on the field, and the Tigers have won their first pennant since 1945.
And we're in the Tiger clubhouse right now. There was another Tiger victory, Dick, just like all year long, coming from behind, rallying.
I think that was the greatest thing in the world, winning a game like that. We've been doing it all year long.
We've had a lot of them up here tonight, and nearly every one of them said they wanted to win it for you and Jim Campbell. That's quite a compliment.
Well, I tell you, as far as I'm concerned, they're all my boys.
Well, for you as it is for the guy. I knew this was going to happen.
When the regular season ended in 1968, for the last time without league championship playoffs, the Tigers and Cardinals were headed to the World Series as the year of the pitcher turned the page to a most satisfying final chapter.
Starting the World Series was Bob Gibson, who had that terrific earned run average, and he was pitching against the sterling Denny McClain, who'd won 31 games. Two of the great pitchers of their time matched in that very first game.
To have both those individuals in a one World Series game, that was a highlight.
The 1968 World Series is underway here in St. Louis, and two teams had one going away in their league.
Not only were the Tigers a great team, having won 103 games and done everything they did, they were playing one of the great National League teams of all time.
Though they shared success, the Fall Classic combatants took different approaches to victory on the diamond.
So it would appear to be speed, balance, the Cardinals against the power of the Tigers, but sport has a precedent sometimes of not coming out the way it was supposed to.
The series began with the most impressive postseason pitching matchup. Bob Gibson and his 1.12 ERA, taking on Denny McClain and his 31 wins.
Two of the great pitchers of their time matched in that very first game in St. Louis.
Here's the pitch. It's a strike called. He struck him out. Gibson delivers. Swing and a miss. He struck him out.
The Aces matched zeros for 3 innings, but in the fourth, the Cards struck against McClain.
The Cardinals lead 3-0 on Javier single to right.
Staked to the lead, Gibson began piling up strikeouts at an impressive rate.
We knew, of course, behind Gibson, that a team that had not faced Bob Gibson all year, that it was going to be tough to handle.
His location was so great, and his ball was moving.
Gibson had won 5 games in his previous 2 World Series. His 6th would be historic.
It's amazing when you think about it, how the Detroit Tigers got the few hits that they did.
The St. Louis Cardinals have won the first game of the World Series. Well, the Tigers are glad Game 1 is over. And as they all said yesterday, in tribute to Bob Gibson, no club, nobody could have beat Gibson yesterday as good as he was.
We had to come back and say, hey, this is our team, this is the Tigers. We got to go out there the next day and play.
And in Game 2, it would be Willie Horton who jump-started the Tiger offense.
There she goes, way back. It might be out of here. It's home run.
Horton's power supply may have been expected, but a blast from one of his teammates was not.
How about that one? Mickey Lolich.
Though the Cards hadn't accounted for Lolich's bat, they did have a scouting report on their 17-game winner.
Roger Maris told us in late July that if we play the Detroit Tigers, which we probably will, that Denny McClain's not going to be our toughest assignment. It's going to be Mickey Lolich.
Lolich has been using a sinking fastball, breaking pitches, mixing them up, so moving that ball around, in and out, up and down.
That roly-poly donut maker out of Lake Orion, Michigan, really just stood his ground on the mound and came up so big.
That's it. The Tigers have even the World Series at 1 apiece.
The series shifted to Detroit with the Tigers' confidence in their bats revived. And the city that had been in tatters a year earlier stood united for its ball club. But it would be another offense that broke out at Tiger Stadium in Game 3.
Orlando Cepeda had a 3-run homer, and I had a 3-run homer in Game 3.
There's a drive deep to right, and that one is sailing into the seats. A 3-run homer for Tim McCarver. They talked about the Tiger power, but the Cardinals said, well, no, we've got some fellas that can hit too.
Those first 2 games at Tiger Stadium, we were very comfortable hitting.
The Cardinals now go out in front in the series 2-1. They bring Gibson back tomorrow, and McClain will go against him.
From the very first batter of Game 4, though, it was apparent round 2 of the marquee pitching showdown would be a one-sided battle.
Boy, Lou Brock hit that one a country mile.
The Cards' leadoff man seemed intent on showing power and speed were both big parts of his game.
Lou Brock was the type of guy that got on base, he could disrupt the whole team.
The throw is not in time. That's his 7th stolen base, and he has just tied his own World Series record.
Even with the highlights from Brock, there was no denying the headline. Bob Gibson appeared simply untouchable.
The dominance by Gibson in the first 2 times he faced Detroit, allowing only 1 run in 18 innings. We had seen what he had done, and we realized how unhittable he was all year long, that we didn't think anybody could beat Bob Gibson.
The Tigers were down 3-1, a deficit only 2 teams in series history had ever come back from.
They've got their backs to the wall. I think they know that. There's no tomorrow unless they can win today. And, of course, as you said, they're putting all their eggs in the basket of one Mickey Lolich.
A year before, Lolich had helped restore order to his team's city as a National Guardsman. Now the left-hander was trying to keep his team's season alive. But in the first, the red-hot Lou Brock's leadoff double jump-started a 3-run rally. And it appeared that Cards were going to cruise to a 2nd straight world title.
And these Cardinal bats continue to boom at Tiger Stadium.
In the 5th, with a 3-2 lead, the Cards were again threatening with Brock on 2nd base.
We picked up in our report that when Luke was on 2nd, he'd go around he'd go take off and he'd drift around the 3rd and drift in the home plate.
Line drive in the left. Horton's up with it. Brock's being waved around. The throw by Horton, and he is safe. Out! No! They call him out of the plate.
He had a run like Luke Brock. We when they came close.
And when Brock is called out, ultimately the big key of that play leaves Mickey Lolich in the game.
And in turn, Lolich was keeping the Tigers in the game. But down a run, the team needed one more comeback.
We had a veteran ball club, and we had a saying at the 7th inning, now it's our time.
Bases loaded, 1 out. Cardinals lead by a run in the 7th inning. There's a drive into right center, a base hit to K-line, a run in. There's another one coming in, and the Tigers have taken the lead.
If Lolich could keep the lead, the Tigers would survive for another day.
It comes right down to strength against strength, and Lolich against Brock. There's a tap to the pitcher. It could be over. Over to Cash, and it's all over. Mickey Lolich turns in a great job.
We had the Tigers 3-1. We had an opportunity to put them away, and we allowed them to get off the deck.
But Detroit still had to win 2 games back in St. Louis. In Game 6, they came out swinging from the start.
A run's going to score. There's a drive. It's going to be a grand slam. Another hit. 1 run is in. Another man's going to score.
The Tigers' offensive explosion evened the series and forced a deciding Game 7.
Detroit has tied the series at 3 games all. A few days ago, it was a Cardinal runaway, and now it goes down to the final day.
It was a cruel reward for the Tigers' resolve, baseball's greatest pitcher at the height of his powers.
The Cardinals are calling on Bob Gibson to win them a world championship. He won in the 7th game of '64. He won again last year in the 7th game, and he's warming up right now.
Though no one could match Gibson's numbers, the Tigers had momentum and faith in Mickey Lolich.
And the way the game unfolded was just so classic. Gibson versus Lolich. 6 scoreless innings.
Struck him out.
Zeros across the board for the first 6 innings.
Then, in the 7th, the Tigers got a break.
They get 2 hits to lead it off.
Base hit.
And Jim Northrup's the next hitter.
Now the set by Gibson. We're ready.
Hits a line drive to left center field.
There's a swing and a fly ball to center. Here comes Flood.
Kurt Flood sucks up all the time.
He almost fell down. It's over his head.
That's an easy play for Flood.
Cash is rounding third. He scores. Willie Horton rounding third. He scores. Northup goes into third base. Detroit leads 2-0.
Finally, the Tigers had found a way to get some runs off of Gibson, and now it was up to Lolich to hold the lead.
We ran up against a guy in Game 7 who not only bettered Gibson, but was better than the Cardinals the 3 times he faced us, and that was Mickey Lolich.
Like their city the year before, the Tigers had come back from the brink.
McConville pops up. Here's Freehan. Detroit's the new world champion. A lot of folks thought the Detroit Tigers were through, but they really have come back and have taken this 1968 World Series.
When Mickey Lolich beat Bob Gibson in Game 7, I remember thinking it at the time, and I still think it today. That was probably the biggest upsets to me in baseball history.
We've come back from behind all year, and we did it again. I never thought we could, but we did, and I don't know, a lot of people must have been praying for it.
And fighting back from the 3-1 deficit was only a part of the comeback story for Detroit.
I'd just like to express from the members of the team how grateful we are to the people of Detroit and the state of Michigan for supporting us like they did. We feel that they sort of pulled us together, and we maybe helped pull them together a little bit.
Well, city of Detroit, it was just something amazing that I seen people just come together. I think just with Ernie Harwell's voice and what we did on the field, I've seen people solve their own difference, and we all came together as one, as a whole, at this great city.
That '68 Tigers team brought a racially divided city that was under siege, slowly but surely, piece by piece, back together again in ways that were really unimaginable after what happened in the riots of '67.
The Detroit Tigers hired him in 1971 to turn them around, which he did.
He was a force. He went places, teams got better. Billy had this incredible gut for the game.
Martin's Tigers won 91 games in his first season, 12 more than the year before.
He added 6 more years to my career. A guy that was tough, a guy that I didn't like at first, a guy that I love and respect. He's the type of guy that he looked at this game where the game should be played, and he sacrificed himself to bring the best out in people.
Popped up. Freehan out there. Rodriguez down. Freehan takes it. Strike 3. The Red Sox are out in the 8th inning of play. At the end of 8, Detroit leads 8-1. One ball, 2 strikes on Phil as he fouls it off. On the right field line, K-line on the run.
He is pointing into the seats out there. And Soar is down. He is moving Gagliano back to second. Apparently it's going to be a ground rule double. Kaline, after going out there, now he's running in. And Billy Martin is coming out. Here's Kaline going after the ball. And it's touched by a fan. And Kaline now is talking with Soar about it. McAuliffe is in on the argument too, and Billy Martin is coming out to join it. As it stands at the moment, the runner is on second. Kaline, I think, indicating that the ball was foul. Here's another look at it. Al Kaline going out after this ball. The fan reaching out. And Kaline's argument is that it would be a foul ball because it was in front of the foul pole. And Gagliano winds up on second base as Martin and Soar go at it, and now Billy is leaving. Scott, meantime, has scored to make it 8-2 Detroit.
We had a pitcher by the name of John Hiller that was in spring training, not with us, but was just down there, and he's throwing on the sidelines. So Art Fowler says, come on, take a look at this Hiller throw the ball. And I just couldn't believe the velocity he had in the breaking ball and everything else. So I went up to Jim Campbell, the general manager, and I said, what's wrong with Hiller? Why can't we put him on the spring training? I said, oh, Billy, he says, he had a heart attack last year. I said, what's that got to do with it? I said, you know, I've been told that people that have attacks or whatever it may be, the best thing for them is work and do the things that they love best. So I said, well, I don't know, Billy. I don't think that's right. I said, well, would you do me a favor? Would you call a doctor and talk to the doctor and let the doctor tell us? Okay, I want to hear from the doctor. So he called the doctor, and the doctor says, yeah, it'd be better for him to pitch. He became the best relief pitcher in baseball. And I mean, to tell you, you talk about a man with courage. He had courage, and I was very proud of John. He did a great job for us.
Well, 1972 being a year that I came back after my heart attack, and we got into the division championship, and not winning it, of course, was very frustrating. But on my mind, it was my first year back out of being out of baseball for a year and a half. And I think that some of the players we had that year were right at the end of their career, and Billy Martin being the manager, I don't think any other manager could have gotten what he did out of the group of players.
There's a long drive, well hit, deep to right, way back. It's gone, a home run for Cash. That was a line drive home run. He really laced it into the seats and right, and the Tigers have taken a 1-0 lead. Ball never did get up in the air, Larry.
No, it didn't. You know, for a moment it looked like it was going to hit the top of the wall. It wouldn't have enough to clear it. Look at this clubhouse, or the dugout.
Catfish Hunter. He won 21 and lost 7 during the regular season.
2-1 pitch. A fly ball to shallow center. Reggie Jackson coming hard, still coming. Now he's under it. Look out. Long fly ball to deep left. Joe Rudy going back. It could be. It is. It's gone. The old pro, Al Kaline, will stake the Tigers to a 2-1 lead here in the 11th inning. Curveball is hit sharply to left for a base hit. Cash coming down the line at first. He squares, pops the bunt down. We might have a play at third. We do. We get him to throw to first. Double play. Oh! Again, the 1-2 pitch. Swung on a ground ball. Is through for a base hit. That might get the tying run home. Here comes Kaline. He's throwing to second base. That'll throw to third. And it gets past Rodriguez, and that'll end the ball game. So Oakland wins the first game. Here's another look at it. By a score of 3-2 in 11 innings. Had problems getting himself straightened out following that surgery. A line shot, that'll be base hit number 2 for Detroit. Kaline's first. Reggie Jackson makes the pick now with 2 out and a 3-2 count on Norm Cash. There he goes. Pitch is swung on it. Base hit to right field. Runners at first and third. Pitch, here it is. Gets away from Sims. That'll get a run in. Alou goes to third. Fred Sherman comes on in relief as Joe Rudy draws the walk. Fastball is laced to left field. That might get up the alley. It will go all the way to the wall. 1 run scoring. Here comes another run scoring. Now they've got him trapped. Ball gets away, however, on a bad throw. And Jackson slides into third safely.
Aaron McGraw doing the pitching for the Tigers. He's the 4th Tiger pitcher. Oh, did he hit him? He did. Look out! Campaneris threw the bat, as you could see, right over the head.
I'll tell you what, they're having a little trouble keeping Billy Martin away from him. Ike Brown just went out and broke the bat.
Well, excitement aplenty.
You know,
the umpire's holding Billy Martin. He's trying to get to Campaneris, and
it's unusual. There was not a punch thrown. Everybody went out, and the umpires put a sort of a DMZ zone.
Matty Allou's at second. Here's the pitch. Strike! He got it over. Well, he went to 3-2 on Maxwell, and he walked him. Now he's gone to 3-2. Here's the pitch. There go the runners. He struck him at third base. Whoa. But no mistakes. He struck him. Here's the pitch. Bouncing ball to second. Taylor bobbles it. Throws. He got him. Well, it was close, but he got him. Here's the pitch. Struck him out. Threw the fast one by him. It was a bad pitch.
1 ball, no strikes. Ground ball through. That might be third. Rudy is over digging up the ball. Freehand goes into second, sliding for a double. 3-1 pitch to Horton. Outside ball toward the base of the Tiger dugout. The 1-1 pitch. Ground ball through, base hit. Here comes Kaline home. He'll score 1 run. Freehand charging home. Run number 2, and the Tigers lead 2-0. Swing and a miss. He got him on strike. Fastball. Call strike 3.
The pitch to Freehand. Here's a long drive way back. Maybe. It is. It's gone. Bill Freehand has just bumped one into the lower deck in left field. And the Tigers lead 3-0. There's a bouncer to third. Rodriguez goes to second, and they've got Matty Alou. Way back on the warning track. Might be, and it is. Home run for McAuliffe. It caught the edge of the second deck, and the Tigers lead. There's a long drive. This may tie it up. It does. We got a tie ball game as Epstein hit a line drive into the right field seats. No doubt about it. He caught it on a line and hit the upper deck, and we got a 1-1 ball game. Watch it again. You can see as Mack is hung up. Bando putting the tag on him.
Three-one pitch to Kubiak. A fastball is lofted to shallow right. That might not score a run. If Kaline makes the catch, he does not. That will score the run as it falls in. Tigers had an opportunity to wrap this one up in the 8th inning, but couldn't get Dick McAuliffe home from third base with one out. 1-0 pitch from Locker. Swung on. Base hit to right field. A one-strike pitch. Curveball is through for a base hit. McAuliffe will have to hold at second base as Rudy comes up with the ball. Expect a lapper in one of these. Inside, gets away. That'll move him up. The pitch. Ball 4. Fouled everything up for the A's. It's a 3-2 ball game. Bases are still loaded. Nobody out. Listen to this crowd. Here it is. Ball 4. That'll score the tying run. Here. The count is 1-0. The pitch. Fastball. There she goes. It might be a big one. It's going. It's falling short, but that gets the run home. And the Tigers, in a tremendous come-from-behind victory here this afternoon, beat Oakland 4-3. And this series is tied at 2 games each. Holy cow.
This one gets away from the catcher, and the runners move up. Here's a grounder to short. He's going to go to first with it, and Mack will score.
But he got the knee right in the back of the leg. I'm going to look at it.
So Jackson is hurt at the plate. Have to wait and see how bad. Looks like his leg.
Dennis awaiting the 1-2 pitch. Here it is. A liner to left field. That's a base hit. That might get a run home. Here comes Sims with the throw. It is not in time.
Wide center field. Hendrick going back. Oakland is the American League Championship team. Led 2-0. Came to Detroit, shocked by Joe Coleman in a 10th inning comeback yesterday. Get the run today, and are they thrilled as they go to the dressing room. Our congratulations to Billy Martin and the Detroit Tigers again with that sensational run and pressure-packed finish in the American League East. Again, to come back as they did in the playoff championships, especially in the 10th inning yesterday when they were down by 2. But today belongs to Oakland. They are the American League champions with the final score in the 5th game. Oakland 2, Detroit 1.
We came within a hair of being in the 1972 World Series. We won the Eastern Division Championship, and then the following year we probably should have broken the club up. We waited maybe 1 year too long.
Al Kaline. I remember when he first came up, Howard, you were talking to me about Al Kaline. You said he'd never make it, remember?
I did the first show I ever did in broadcast with Al Kaline, Hobby Keene, and one of the great people I have ever known, the late Fred Hutchinson.
Well, you had a couple of pretty fair hitters there, and a champion pitcher, manager, and man, the late Freddie Hutchinson. Al Kaline, 1 out, runner on first. Strike. Tony, you played against Kaline a lot. What do you remember most about him in your playing days?
I remember the steadiness of him, the way he has performed over the course of the years. Nothing seems to bother Al. He's been underrated. He has never had great speed, the speed of a Mays or a Cesar Cedeno, but he's a very steady player.
One strike to him. 20 years ago today, Alan Roth tells us, Al Kaline, then 18 years old, out of Southern High School in Baltimore, played in his first major league game 20 years ago today. He looks at that one, strike two. You know, Tony, I think he got a bad break when he won the batting title as a youngster, the youngest player to ever win an American League batting championship. The Tiger fans expected him to win it every year from then on.
A lot of pressure. You know, talking about something else about Kaline, one thing that I really remember personally, that Al Kaline comes into second base, breaking up a double play harder than anybody ever saw.
2-strike count to him. Fouls it off.
Well, we all have our own particular memories of the great veterans. It seems to me what I most remember about Kaline is the ground ball to the Yankee left side of the infield, slithering past the outstretched grasp of Kubek.
I thought you were going to say McDougal for a second.
Just out of his reach. On deck, Willie Horton. Naylor at first, one out. That breaking pitch hangs high to him. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Kurt, you mentioned that Kaline was the youngest player ever to win the American League batting title. Who was the youngest player ever to win the National League batting title?
What are we going to do now? Are we going to get into a big match of wits tonight? Huh? Let's do the ball game. 1 ball, 2 strikes. There goes the runner. There's a fly ball. And over for it.
The 1973 season was not as successful for Martin and the Tigers, as Detroit finished in 3rd place in the Eastern Division. Nevertheless, Martin did have some unusual success, as he was responsible for finding eventual center fielder Ron LaFleur in a Michigan State prison. But just like Minnesota, Martin's time in Detroit came to an abrupt end after a game against the Indians. Martin suspected Cleveland pitcher Gaylord Perry was throwing spitballs, an illegal pitch. When the umpires did not call out Gaylord for doing so, Billy ordered his pitchers to do just the same. Now, after Martin told the press of his doing after the game, he was suspended by the American League president Joe Cronin for breaching league rules. Apparently, this was a last straw for the Tigers' GM Jim Campbell, who fired Martin before his suspension by Cronin ran out.
We had to tear the ball club apart. And I don't think any man could have done a better job at that period of time than the Ralph House.
Al Kaline returned to his hometown in Baltimore. It was Tuesday night, September 24. His parents and boyhood friends were there to see his final moment of triumph.
Well, here's another ovation for Al Kaline, the Tigers' designated hitter, going for that 3,000 hit. And to describe the action for us, here's Paul Carey.
Thank you, Ernie. Al bounced out to Belanger at short, his first time up. The pitch is swung on. There's a drive down to right field into the corner. He'll be in for a big hit, maybe extra bases. Al is digging for second. He's in with a stand-up double. A 2-base hit for Al Kaline. Hit number 3,000 in his fabulous career of 22 years.
When you get into the 3,000 hit category, I remember something Hank Aaron told me that in spring training, he says, the only thing I felt that I ever really did anything in baseball is when I got 3,000 hits. He said, and then all of a sudden he felt a sense that he has really accomplished something. And I do now, getting 3,000 hits, and only so few people in the history of baseball ever to achieve this, and certainly it makes you aware that you've done something so many people haven't done. But I don't know about my being great. I've been in the right situation at the right time, it seems like, and things just seem to fall in place for me. And there's so many players that were greater than me, so it really doesn't mean that much. If you can't be the best, and really being second, third, or 20th or 30th doesn't mean that much.
To carry the mantle of superstar in baseball, a gentleman recognizes his responsibilities toward the millions of young Americans that literally worship the ground on which he walks. Al Kaline never for a moment has failed to recognize this relationship with the nation's young.
Ron LaFleur discovered baseball while he was incarcerated in 1971 for armed robbery while serving a 3.5-year bid in Jackson State Prison, as documented in the CBS original film, 1 in a Million, The Ron LaFleur Story. 3 years later, He was in the big leagues with the Detroit Tigers in 1974 as a 26-year-old. He was recommended to Tigers manager Billy Martin, who was tough in his own right. And after an impressive workout at Old Tiger Stadium, LaFleur was signed to a free agent contract in 1973 upon his release from prison. He joined the Clinton Pilots in the Midwest League under manager Jim Leyland and was called up to the Tigers in 1974.
And in August of 1974, he played his first big league game with the Tigers. Just over a year after being in jail with no baseball experience, Ron LaFleur was on the Detroit Tigers. He was okay in 59 games down the stretch in 74 before making the team out of spring training in 75, and eventually becoming the starting center fielder. A guy less than 2 years removed from prison was about to be a regular starter on a Major League Baseball team. This is not normal, and it's pretty inspiring. For the most part, he improved in his first full season, but his style of play was very typical of the 70s. Contact hitter, stole a lot of bases but also got caught a ton, that kind of guy. Well, in 1976, that was still his style of play, only he was really good at it. He came into 1976 and pretty much said,
"Oh, watch this."
In 1976, LaFleur stole 58 bases while only being caught 20 times, a plus 30 jump in successes from the year before. He also hit .316, improved his walk rate, which led to a .376 on-base percentage, and rocked an OPS plus of 128, meaning he was about 28% better than the average hitter around him.
LaFleur developed into an all-star center fielder for the Tigers in 1976, as he started the season with a 30-game hitting streak. Those numbers got him selected as a starter in the All-Star game, where he got a leadoff hit.
This is Mark Fidrich, who has really captured the imagination of this town. Not only has he proved he is a pretty fair pitcher, a 2-hit shutout, and a great performance last night, Mark, but also with a little color to the game. Is it on purpose, Mark?
No, it's just the way I keep my mind in the game. You know, that's just the way I do it, like other people have their ways of doing things. That's my way of doing it, I guess.
Mark, let's first of all talk about your pitching performance. The 2-hit shutout, your first Major League start, had to be a very satisfying day for you.
Oh, yeah, I was really excited about that. But still, I mean, that game is over with now. You know, I got other games to pitch. And like Boston, I lost. That's my downer right there. You know, they say you got ups and downs. Well, that's a downer right there because I lost.
Okay, Big Bird, we have a baseball, and you do very funny things with that ball. When you talk on the mound, not only do you throw strikes, fortunately,
yeah,
but when you're on the mound, are you talking only to the baseball? Really now, Mark?
No, I'm keeping my mind in the game. I might look at the ball, but I'm just keeping my mind in the game, saying, you know, if I get the ball, where am I going to go with it, you know, or, you know, what's going to happen, where should I throw this ball this time, you know, and tell myself where to release the ball.
But Ralph Houck has never said to you, hey, Mark, cool the antics?
No, why should he say that, though, you know, because that's just my style of pitching. Everyone's got their own way of pitching, you know.
Well, so far, 2 great performances, Mark, and I don't care if you talk to the batter, to the bat, to the ball, to the glove, whatever. Just keep it going, Mark. Congratulations.
Thank you a lot.
We were curious coming to the ballpark. Who the hell is this crazy guy, you know?
You'll see him mumble a couple of words to the ball.
He was an oddity, a real oddity. Nobody ever did what Fidrich did.
Look at him, talking to that ball.
What pitcher ever talk to a ball?
I get a kick out of this guy.
He's probably saying, come on, move that ball, move that ball.
I didn't think he was going to talk to it. I thought he was going to eat it. I'm not kidding you, because that's exactly where it was.
That is not a member of the Detroit ground crew. That's starting pitcher Mark Fidrich.
You never saw this. You never saw a guy manicured as if it was his own personal ground crew.
He's congratulating each player. Hey, even on so-so plays.
He did some cuckoo things, but the guy could pitch. That was the bottom line. All this other stuff wouldn't have mattered if he was getting his brains beat in.
Another easy inning for the young right-hander Mark Fidrich.
As Fidrich made his way through the game, keeping a star-studded Yankees lineup at bay, Tiger Stadium and a national audience were captivated.
Energy was building and building and building.
The fans are cheering, let's go Mark.
Northborough was like a ghost town downtown.
You literally could hear the cheering. The windows are open.
Yeah, I'm sure.
You could hear the cheering from house to house.
Oh, yeah.
Fans really getting a kick and reacting to Fidrich.
They got to be in love with this young man, no question about it.
I'll tell you, he has won this town.
There was 50,000 in Tiger Stadium. I thought they were going to break it down.
Can you imagine the hand Fidrich is going to receive in the top of the 9th inning?
As the 9th inning began, Fidrich and the Tigers had a 5-1 lead.
He got it! And the fans are standing for Fidrich.
I still remember watching that from beginning to end. Every pitch, you're on the edge of your seat. It's just unforgettable.
2 down in the ninth.
Yes. See,
look at Lou.
I've seen a lot of ball games played, and I've caught a few. I don't think I've ever seen a pitcher this keyed up.
I'm watching it like I don't know how the ending's going to be.
Finish it up.
The fans ready to explode. Here's your pitch. Ground ball should be the ball game. It's over.
He knows he beat the Yankees.
And the Tigers act like Fidrich has just won the 7th game of the World Series.
He has. He's won 7 in a row. He is some kind of unbelievable young Mark Fidrich.
The crowd, I noticed, didn't leave. I said, they're not gonna leave until he comes back out of the dugout.
They were screaming, "We want the bird, we want the bird." And I said, he's got to come back out here.
The fans want him to come back. The fans are calling for him to come back.
I said, "Mark, you got to put that shirt back on, son. You got something to do." I told him, I said, "You're going to go up those stairs to tip your hat." He says, "Come on, you're going to make me do this? You got to come up with me." I said, "They're not screaming, 'We want the bird' and Rusty. They're screaming, 'We want the bird.'" It was exhilarating. I am not kidding you. It was just so great.
And here he comes. Here he comes. Oh, this is unbelievable. He loves him. Look at that. Shaking the policeman's hand. Look at that.
It's like this seismic wave of emotion. It's just this roar, and you can see he can barely stand upright.
This kid is terrific.
I've been in baseball 35 years. I have never in my life ever seen anything to equal this.
That doesn't happen. We just don't do that. You know, the game-winning hit or the star of the game gets interviewed on the field, salutes the fans, and then you don't see him again. But for Mark Fidrich, he just couldn't get enough.
Well, you got to love him. You know, he's got tremendous enthusiasm. He's given 100% out there, and there's an excitement to him. You know, he excites the fans, so that excites the players a little bit themselves. You know he's going to throw the ball over the plate. He's going to be, moving the ball toward the plate quickly. He's not going to be hanging around the mound and wasting a lot of time, and it keeps the players on their toes, and you got to love him. He's just a great kid.
Rusty, let's talk about your hitting. You look like a hitter just standing there. You certainly do when you swing, and the records prove it.
The latest overnight superstar in the sports world is a young rookie pitcher for the Detroit Tigers.
The bird is the best! The bird is another Muhammad Ali!
Fidrich mania captured the country so fast.
The young Mark Fidrich has everything a fellow could ask for right now.
Mark Fidrich, a big-time baseball player who has long blonde curls and one of the largest followings in baseball.
I mean, what can you say? We love him! All right!
You know, my oldest daughter, she's 12, and she said, "Hey, Dad, would you get Mark's autograph?" And I said, I'd be happy to, but now I'm embarrassed to walk up and ask a 21-year-old kid for his autograph.
It was authentic, man. He was like loving it. It was so pure.
If I go out, to a restaurant or something, I'm history. I just sit there and sign autographs while I'm eating my meal.
He was just completely real. He was just Mark Fidrich from Northborough, and went out there and makes baseball a game again.
The fame was staggering, and Fidrich's performance remained dominant. At midseason, he was 9-2 with a 1.72 ERA and was named the American League's starting pitcher in the All-Star game.
Mark Fidrich, I live in Northborough, Massachusetts, and I'm a pitcher for the All-Star game. Is that good?
At the game, even the president wanted to talk to the bird.
You're throwing better than I do.
Talking about Ron LaFleur, the Tiger center fielder, but playing left field here tonight in the All-Star game. We asked Ron LaFleur about right-handed pitcher Mark Fidrych.
Well, they just look at the Bird as a really crazy, young guy, but like he's not really, like everybody get along, and he's just the type of guy to just keep everything going. He's jumping around, he's dancing in the clubhouse, he's hollering, he has a lot of girls around him and stuff like this, but we try to keep him away from that because, him messing with a lot of girls a lot of times, it's not going to really help his career at all, and like we're trying to keep that at a minimum. As long as we can do that, like everybody's looking out for him, we're trying to look out for his best interest, and like as long as he's our teammate, like we're going to do everything in our power to try and keep him out of any trouble that, that may be around.
How'd you like to have a bodyguard like that, Uke?
By the time he pitches in the All-Star game, Birdmania is huge.
So popular has the Bird become that reserved seats were sold out long in advance. Fans lined up outside Tiger Stadium all day for the 11,000 bleacher seats that would go on sale before game time.
Detroit loves the Bird. The Bird is the word.
The Bird was a phenomenon across the game, and in Detroit, attendance nearly tripled for Fidrych's starts.
It wasn't just Detroit. It was when they went on the road. Teams were praying that he pitched. They were calling into Detroit to find out what his scheduled day was.
Those packed stands mean big money, of course, yet the Bird is a club owner's dream. He's been working for the rookie minimum, which is $16,500 a year. Says if he weren't doing this, he'd be pumping gas somewhere.
Well, they're chanting here at Tiger Stadium, we want the Bird. And ironically, the whole White Sox team is in the dugout. They want to see Fidrych come out before this mob here.
Fidrych finished the season with a 19-9 record, 24 complete games, and a league-best 2.34 ERA. All of that earned him the American League Rookie of the Year.
To cap off his 1976 season, Ron LaFleur finished 23rd in AL MVP voting. He received points in the MVP voting for 3 of the next 4 seasons as well. An unreal turnaround for a guy given a second chance at life.
A year later in 1977, John Fetzer sold the stadium to the city of Detroit, who began to plan and implement some much-needed renovations. Stripping the stadium of its traditional wooden green seats, the city replaced them with modern plastic ones decked out in the Tigers' orange and blue, and the rest of the interior was painted blue to match. And according to the SABR, the outside of the stadium was redone with white aluminum siding to prevent a costly repainting that was done yearly. Serious concerns at this time were starting to be raised about the stadium's longevity, and whether or not it was time to start considering a brand new ballpark. Also during this time, the Tigers signed a pair of ballplayers who would go on to be the greatest double play combination in the history of the sport, Alan Trammell and Lou Whitaker. Both ballplayers made their debut during the 1977 season, and things started to look up. Coming up through the Tiger system at the time were also Lance Parrish and Jack Morris.
Major League Baseball presents This Week in Baseball. Mark Fidrych. You see, Fidrych stopped the Tribe's winning streak at 9 and extended his own to 5. Not only did the Bird battle the batters, manager Ralph Houck is surprised watching the Bird battle a bee. What's buzzing, cousin? The crowd just eats it up. Everywhere the Bird performs, whether on the road or at home. Not only do the Tigers love it, but the huge crowds just keep coming to see him pitch. The Bird scared everyone when he injured his knee this spring, but as he said, don't worry, folks, it's just part of the game. And it's a game he loves to play. And fans everywhere sure do love to watch him play it his way.
And for the rest of his time in Detroit, he kept playing well. But 1978 ended up being a pretty special year. He led his league in singles, runs scored, and stolen bases, rocked a 4.1 WAR according to Baseball Reference, a 113 OPS plus, and at one point in the year was on a 27-game hitting streak. He became just the second Tiger ever to have multiple hitting streaks of 25 games or more.
Ball 2 and strike 1. Here's a pop fly, it's gonna drop in. Trammell makes a whale of a play, and it's a double play. Trammell made a whale of a play on a pop fly. Oh, we take another look at that.
In June of 1979, the Detroit Tigers hired 45-year-old Sparky Anderson as their new manager.
He walks into this press conference and he says, we're going to win the World Series in 5 years.
We felt that that was a little more Sparky propaganda. You know, he was a great guy for building things up.
His first meeting was about this beards and mustaches.
Little did we know that we needed a lot of direction, and that was the guy, Sparky.
He just said, look, no facial hair, none of this. You're going to wear this, and no alcohol on the plane. These are my rules, and gentlemen, if you don't play by my rules, you're not here.
It was just his way of seeing, are you with me? Or are you without me? He guided us. He was like the guy at the helm. He knew when to steer left, when to steer right. He knew when to take his hands off the helm.
Disco sucks! Disco sucks! Disco sucks!
July 12th, 1979. A twilight doubleheader at Comiskey Park. The White Sox versus the Tigers. Between games, 24-year-old Steve Dahl, a popular disc jockey from Chicago rock station Loop 98, would take the field at the head of his so-called anti-disco army to blow up thousands of disco records.
Every day I would play a disco record and drag the needle across it, you know, and scratch it and then blow it up. But I tapped into something. There's an undercurrent of hatred for disco.
In a few minutes, we're going to attempt the world's largest disco demolition.
Admission that night was less than $1 if you also contributed an album.
We have people come, 98 cents, you get in, bring a disco record, boom.
Unusual promotions were nothing new at Comiskey in the late 1970s. White Sox owner Bill Veeck, one of the few owners enshrined in Cooperstown, was baseball's P.T. Barnum. It was Veeck who commissioned Comiskey's exploding scoreboard. It was Veeck who in 1951 sent Eddie Goodell to the plate. By 1979, his son Mike was running the White Sox promotions department.
He's like, what is this disco demolition? I said, we're just going to blow up some disco records, and there's a guy in town who's red hot, and it'll draw some people. He was like,
I really did think this is going to be embarrassing. At most, there will be 5,000 people that will show up for this thing, and I'm going to look like an idiot.
He was worried that even if we doubled their attendance, take it to 12,000, stadium still don't look empty. Little did we know.
This is now officially the world's largest anti-disco rally.
There's throngs of people coming. There's throngs, and they're all carrying albums.
The late Bill Veeck told me Sox Park had 70,000. First time Satchel Paige pitched. There had to be 70,000 people in that ballpark. I don't know how they got in.
You could see people coming through the portholes out in left field. There was holes cut out in the wall, and people were coming up through the holes.
People were swiping pops out of my tray, and there wasn't anything you could do about it. You couldn't move. You couldn't go chase someone because you couldn't get anywhere.
It seemed like there was kegs in every aisle of the ballpark that night, you know, because everybody was drunk.
I said, you ought to have the pot concession. But what I just smelled down there, I think there must be a master load of pot here in this ballpark.
Well, listen, we took all the disco records that you brought tonight. We got them in a giant box, and we're going to blow them up real good.
They were supposed to just put them into a bin for Steve Dahl to blow up, but obviously people brought more than one.
Even before the game started, people were flinging records all over the place.
The first disc that was thrown missed me by a couple of inches. Missed the right side of my head by a couple of inches.
It was a real dangerous situation. I mean, I couldn't understand why they didn't delay the game.
They're going, Rusty, disco, you know, Sox, and they're real loud, and we're going to kill disco today. Disco is dead, you know, this and that. And I'm going, no, I was just in discotheque last night. How are you going to achieve that, right?
The Tigers won Game 1 4-1. Then it was time for Steve Dahl, the disc jockey, to blow up some records. He took to the field in a Jeep at the command of his ragged army. His troops greeted him as a conquering hero as he seized the microphone.
Party!
All these clowns who paid 98 cents to get in the ballpark were going to have their moment of glory, and I thought it would happen very rapidly.
1, 2, 3, boom! Yeah! That blew up real good!
I mean, there was a flash and a stream of broken albums. Like, everybody just was stunned.
Center field disappeared. I mean, there was a crater in center field. It was unbelievable.
With the crate and its contents in shards on the outfield grass, Dahl enjoyed a victory lap of sorts and left the field. He could not have known that disco demolition was just getting started. As White Sox pitcher Ken Kravik went to the mound to warm up for the second game, a few fans abandoned their seats and headed for the field.
All of a sudden, one person right on the field and another and another.
Left field, right field, box seats.
It was almost like a bunch of lemmings.
It just was like the floodgates opened up.
We saw that there was no security stopping us, and we just said, hey, let's do it.
Jimmy Pearsall back in the ballpark, and I'm sure glad, and I hope they don't let you people see what's going on here at Comiskey Park. One of the saddest sights I've ever seen in a ballpark in my life. This garbage of demolishing a record has turned into a fiasco.
You were outraged.
I was just, Major League Baseball is Major League Baseball. It isn't a rat race or a bunch of idiots who probably had never gone to a game in their life, hurting the game of baseball and hurting baseball in Chicago.
The baseball is no longer the story. It's this crowd, and the White Sox may have to forfeit the second game.
Watching the fans slide down that foul pole was like, oh my God.
The field was on fire. It was on fire. I've never seen a baseball field on fire before.
To see this happening is a disgrace. It was the worst promotion in the history of the world.
This is Bill Beck. Please clear the park, or we'll have to call out the game and close the park.
I saw people steal home plate, dig up home plate. They dug up home plate.
I saw a lot of people running the bases, having simulated baseball games, which was kind of cool.
They were ripping the field apart.
Kids jumping up and down on the tarp.
I'm pretty sure that I saw two people having sex behind third base.
Not even Harry Carey, then the White Sox announcer, could control the frenzied crowd.
Can you hear me out there? Holy cow! What say we all regain our seats so we can play baseball again?
My friends and I went and sat in the Tigers dugout. We were passing around the Jack Daniels, and one of the coaches came out and he said, son, give me that bottle. And yes, sir. I gave him the bottle, and he goes, now, son, get out of our dugout.
After nearly 20 minutes, Carey and Bill Veeck tried again, beseeching those who'd stormed the field to return to their seats. They even broke into song. Their efforts were futile, as was the incongruously polite tone of a message on the scoreboard. The fans simply wouldn't surrender the field for the second game.
Now the police are out on the field. Boy, oh boy.
They rode in on their horses, and the kids just ran for the hills.
After nearly 40 minutes of mayhem, Comiskey Park's field was pockmarked with divots and debris.
You go out there, you see puddles of where beer and stuff was wasted on the field. There was glass broken out there. It was a mess.
With the anti-disco revelers finally off the diamond, the grounds crew attempted to make the field playable, even as Tigers manager Sparky Anderson argued it would be impossible to play. Dahl's Army had demolished disco, and in the process, Comiskey's field.
The umpire-in-chief and the president of the league has declared that the playing conditions on the field will not permit them to play the second ball game.
The White Sox were forced to forfeit. There were 39 reported arrests, but only minor injuries, among what some say was the largest ever White Sox crowd.
It was a disastrous evening from my standpoint. There are no number of tickets that you could sell that would make it worthwhile.
Dad thought I got hustled. He was always of the opinion that the station knew that it was going to be a lot bigger than I had any idea.
I always took one great offense more than anything else. Don't blame us. We did a promotion that overworked.
You got to give them credit, though. I mean, they did get a big crowd at the ballpark.
That's stupid. You're stupid for saying that. I want to tell you right now.
You talk to people in the radio business, and they'll tell you that overnight, stations stopped being disco stations.
The Bee Gees actually blamed me for killing disco, which I felt was a victory for me. I took that as a win.
We did a promotion that caused a forfeiture. I regret that. As a cultural event, I'm kind of proud of it.